Coach killers and missed chances as the Glory fall heavily to the Wanderers. Under-20 Asian Cup champions. Is this the start of another golden generation? And where the bloody hell are you? The Matildas' quest for a permanent coach continues. Welcome to the only podcast copying more heap than Marty Sheargold. This is the Far Post Perth, powered by ID Athletic. Head over to idathletic.com for all of your sporting kit requirements. And of course, Trio Homes. If you're looking to build, redesign or renovate, visit triohomes.com.au. Well, if the Glory get hammered and the club doesn't post about it on social media, did it really happen? That's the question on everyone's lips. And let's see if one of these next gentlemen have the answer. With me on this episode, to my left, James Renton. Welcome back, mate. We've got Jaxon Bassett around the table.
Hello.
And Neil Sherwin back on board, mate, after a week off.
2 weeks.
2 weeks off?
2 weeks off for me, yeah. Yep.
Easy life for some, mate.
Man of leisure. Yes.
Boys, what's been happening? What's been going on, James?
Just been enjoying the football here in Australia, and with the under-20s in particular. When there's obviously been a bit of discourse about how the Socceroos over the years and more recently the Matildas have performed. It's great to see one of our national sides, albeit at a junior level, but still very significantly winning the Asian Cup. And the thing that excites me is the range of talent that's in that team, whether it be in the defensive area or the offensive area. It was great to see them win it, and I think it's a really good indicator of where the league has gone, especially this season, in terms of giving young players opportunities. And we're seeing the rewards for it, whether it be in terms of transfer fees or our young guys doing really well on the international stage. So hopefully more exciting things to come from this group moving forward.
Straight into it off the bat, James Renton, Jaxon Bassett. Well, got a bit of a kit going on, competition going on in the studio. AC Milan. Jaxon, what's going on there, mate?
Just like the look of it. Yeah, got it from a store in the city.
It's not a bad kit, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I've got three kits from the current season. This just happens to be one of them.
Yep.
Got Dortmund and got Ajax one the other day as well, which is quite nice. Yeah, slowly building, but not quite at Neil's level just yet.
And Neil Sherwin's gone with the Perth home kit, mate.
Yeah, it's about the only good thing.
The kit.
Very true.
The home kit and the bucket hat. Which
you got the bucket hat, didn't you?
No, I didn't get it. It sold out when I went to get one last time.
Right?
Yeah, there was none there.
All right.
So bring them back.
All right. Boys, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. James, kick us off, mate. What's been good? You might have just touched on it.
I did, yeah. And it's obviously for me the on an international sense the Oz 20 under 20s doing as well as they did. And obviously, like I said, it's a fantastic achievement, and it's really exciting to see what this group can do moving forward. But also to have if I can do two, if that's all right, the Adelaide-Auckland game was outstanding. When there have been for years complaints about, the A-League's boring, the quality's dropped off, that was an outstanding game in front of a very good crowd, and that's the A-League at its best, and that's the A-League with the potential that it has.
Yeah.
And it's up for other clubs to follow suit, whether it be on the pitch in terms of making sure they've got the right blend of players and the right coaching, or whether it be off the pitch with trying to bring the fans in. And I think a club like Auckland have done a really good job in doing so. Adelaide also, we've talked about lots of times off the pitch with their crowds and how they're run as a football club. It made for a really entertaining spectacle. That was definitely the highlight of the round.
Just the energy around Auckland at the moment. They're getting good crowds. They're getting vocal crowds. Football just goes up by 15 to 20% when you've got a decent, energetic crowd.
Well, that's the thing for fans like myself and Jackson, where we weren't able to see Glory and their heyday in the NSL.
Yeah.
That is probably, I imagine, I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say what the Glory was like in its best days in the NSL, in the sense of crowd, in the sense of taking the league by storm, in the sense of being a team that people hate because they're on the other side. Well, obviously for us, we're on the other side of the country, but even Auckland, they're not even in the country, and yet they're taking the league by storm, and people are probably a little bit jealous by the success that they're having, and they deserve to be where they are. Because I don't really think there's been any team this season that has been more consistent than them. They've found ways to win big or small or get a result in general. And, I think they are at this moment the heavy favourites to win the grand final, I would say.
Jaxon, what's been good?
Just adding on from James's point about the quality of the league, and marquees is something that the league hasn't quite gotten right in the past. But I was watching the Macarthur-Sydney game on the weekend, and Douglas Costa, wow. He had an outstanding game. Created 5 chances, hit the woodwork, superb free kick. Just watching the highlights and just seeing him involved in everything. It's everything you want from a marquee player, and he's delivered it in spades, and he even scored the goal in the Champions League, which put him through to the next round. So he's been very impressive. Started off a bit slow, but he's really coming into his element. Hopefully he can stay fit, because if he does, then Sydney are going to be very difficult to beat if they can make the finals.
Neil, what's been good, mate?
I had Douglas Costa on my radar as well, because today I saw a photo of him sitting in economy when they were flying to their Asian Champions League game, and kind of parked his ego at the door, and it made me think that he's exactly what, and goes to Jackson's point, he's exactly what we wanted Daniel Sturridge to be. You know, come in, checkered injury history, big name player, bit of an ego, and if it works, it's great, and if it doesn't, you get what we got. But if we had gotten Daniel Sturridge in the Douglas Costa form, I think we would have been really happy, because he's playing. Yes, he's on limited minutes sometimes. He's missed a few games through injuries, but he's also an aging, injury-prone player. So, I think he's done great, and it did.
Well, you can kind of contrast
think,
him with Juan Mata in a way, because I don't think Juan Mata's kind of hit the heights that we hoped.
I don't think he's been bad though.
He hasn't been bad. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't been a Mario Jardel or a Sturridge or anyone, William Gallas or anyone like that.
Well, he also hadn't played for a year before he came here.
But I think you just see these names up in lights and you go, okay, this is what we expect. Yeah. This is the reputation that you've got. This is what we expect. And you don't often get it. This is why I've often been... I can throw some other names at you. And one, obviously, is Diego Castro. Nobody had a clue who Diego Castro was before he joined the A-Leagues. Or if you did, you're a pretty staunch football fan of, La Liga and things like that. The other one was Milos Ninkovic. I mean... Yeah, there's a little bit of a history. I think Australia played against Milos in the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, but besides that, not many would have known who he was. And I think they're probably two out of, maybe you'd add in Thomas Broich as probably the best overseas marquee we've had. Del Piero is probably in the conversation. Shinji Ono.
Well, most of the good marquees have been lesser known names from those good quality leagues, rather than being big names who've come from the Premier League.
You do your due diligence and you've really scout the player and you see if they're going to be a good fit for your team and you're not just getting them for their namesake, well, then you've got something special like we had with Castro.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Anyway, my good.
Go. Sorry, mate.
More football coming to Perth. The Women's Asian Cup opening game is going to be at Optus, so I would expect that to sell out. And then games at HBF Park as well. So 6 games in total.
You reckon Marty Sheargold's going to get along?
Wouldn't expect. I wouldn't give him the airtime anymore. But anyway, and also the talk of potentially bidding for the Asian Cup, men's Asian Cup, because we missed out last time, right? We didn't get to host any games, and I think the government... I don't think the state government, if it's still the same state government in a few years' time, would drop the ball a second time. I think that, WA and South Australia didn't put up the money the last time, and those of us who went, I mean, I flew over for the semi-final in Newcastle and the final in Sydney, and it was brilliant. But it'd be great to have some games here and in a major tournament. And I think our facilities have come a long way in those 10 years. In terms of being able to host games. HUS Park has had a significant upgrade since then. We've obviously got Optus now as well, albeit not an ideal venue, but we will take games if we can get games. So I think there's some pretty good news stories, and obviously we've got the Socceroos coming up here in a few months' time, and fingers crossed for some pre-season friendlies again. As much as some people deride them and don't like them, I love going along and watching big name teams, and maybe it'll be non-Premier League this year.
Yes, it'll be very interesting to see
rumors.
How that all goes. But
rumors.
Watch this space, I guess, and we'll see where it all goes.
Anyway, sorry,
Neil's just singing. I don't know if that's a bit of an Irish ditty or what that he was getting out there. Well, guys, I think you guys have probably picked all of the good stuff this week, so I'm just going to kind of piggyback a little bit of what Neil says, and it's good in the way, well, I guess where I'm going with this is we're heading to a state election, and there's plenty of pledging towards football clubs at the moment. We do know it happens towards a state election as they try and garner as many votes as they can. Where this becomes good is once upon a time football wouldn't be in this conversation. Growing up, you would never get many. There'd be few and far between, put it that way. Political parties, particularly major political parties, come out and pledge $30 million to a new Doreen Gardens and an Italian club, to Updean, kind of, tens of thousands of dollars going to local clubs for lighting upgrades. This was never a thing 20, 30 years ago. So that's where I guess it's become good that we are, I guess, in that conversation, and kind of goes along with you, Neil, and what you said about...
It is to a point. The only thing I'll say, and I don't want to be negative, but it does feel a little bit rich get richer. That it's the same big clubs get the handouts, and some of the community clubs are getting a bag of balls and a pack of training cones.
Yeah, and a pack of crisps go along with it. I certainly get that.
I think it needs to filter down a little bit more, because
this is where I'd like to see more, support from Football West in grants writing, in sponsorship, acquisitions, in everything else like that, because we do know there is the big fish. I'm affiliated with Perth. Perth is probably the major football club, or one of the major football clubs in WA. Has probably got one of the best facilities in WA, and they're very, very proud of that. But however, let's not, as you said there, let's not rubbish it.
Look, Perth have a load of members, and it makes sense that if you're trying to get votes, you'll go fish where the fish are, as we were told for years by the FFA. So I get why. The political grandstanding is there for all to see at the moment. But to your point about Football West, it'd be nice if they did step in a little bit around the distribution of wealth, and that it filters down to some of your smaller community clubs who don't have an MPL set up, but are absolutely contributing to the growth of the game at that level, where they don't even have a toilet block or a shower to... I was going to say a shower to piss in, but it's a wrong turn of phrase. That's
don't know what you do in your shower, Neil, but we might just
the wrong
skip
turn
over
of phrase. But anyway, yes, it would be good if some of the community clubs got a little bit more of the cake. That's all.
No, I can't disagree with that at all. James, what's been bad?
Brisbane's balls up because
their season?
No, just this game. Well, they're having a fan forum, mind you, with their owners, I believe.
We haven't even had that yet.
No. Well.
You had one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but it was their game against Melbourne Victory. Look, obviously, Brisbane have been the laughingstock in the competition this season, along with us, but they've been significantly worse, I feel, given their one win all season. And for a lot of the game, it was possibly going to be 2 wins this season. And I thought against Melbourne Victory, Brisbane played well enough to get something out of it. I thought Melbourne Victory was stale. I think there's probably more questions to ask of Arthur Dillers if he is the man for the Victory moving forward for such a big club. But for Brisbane, for a side that's been struggling quite a fair bit, they created enough. I think Nathan Amanatides would probably like to have a couple of those chances back again. Obviously, there was the one where he was through on goal, and I think he did his hamstring not long after. But they had enough chances, and there's no doubt that they would have been kicking themselves straight after the game. And obviously a lot of the players at full time, when the whistle went, they all just went down because they just felt spent, given that, it was Casey Boss that got the equaliser in the 97th minute. So for Brisbane, no doubt they're going to be looking at this upcoming game against Glory on the 15th and eyeing it up, going, well, we were very unlucky to miss out on a win. This will be an opportunity for us to get 3 points and try and end the season on a good note.
It's been pretty bleak for Brisbane. I'm pretty sure they've gone over a year now without winning at home.
Yep.
You got to feel for their supporters. My bad this week. I'm sure we'll discuss it more when we get into the Glory, but I'm done with David Ridley's excuses in terms of the fitness. I mean, we've mentioned off air about how he hasn't been the best in press conferences, and he mentioned the fitness thing again, and the new players coming in and having to gain that fitness during games. Just say you weren't good enough on the day. That's all I need to hear. I don't want to hear any more about players being underdone or needing to pick up fitness levels. You weren't good enough on the day. End of story. Just leave it at that.
There you go. Short, sharp, and to the point. Neil, what's been bad?
I've been here for a couple of weeks, but MacArthur, just MacArthur in general, club crowing about their attendance with Sydney FC when it was pretty clear that Sydney FC boosted that home attendance for them. So a bit disingenuous, but you've got the gambling scandal, you've got the player sacked for the "Do you know who I am" situation, you got the Dwight York saga, and while I was away, Valère-Germain.
Damn those referees.
But what a dick. I mean, we talk about marquee players and bringing in overseas signings. He's been brilliant. On the pitch, he's great. Scores goals, great build-up play, made players around, like Jed Drew, and that look way better playing with an intelligent focal point like him. Class player. And then just throws his toys out of the pram and leaves. It's wild. Feels like one thing. It's impressive from MacArthur. They've had a glory worth of scandals in the space of a few seasons. They seem to be able to find things at every corner that they turn. And I'm actually excited about what's next, because that's all they really bring to the league for me. I just have just pure apathy towards them.
And the contrast when you have seen Auckland come in.
Yeah, but Auckland was going to a big city, and we should have gone to Auckland before, and we should have gone to Canberra before, and we should have gone to Tassie before the AFL. What is MacArthur?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that the identity and the whole placing of them in that area and whatnot, you just gone with Campbelltown or something if you're going with that area. But yes, you're right with in the sense that Auckland is what should have. Why would you go to MacArthur or whatever MacArthur is ahead of Auckland?
Well, even look at Western United.
But at least they're doing something. They've won something.
Yeah, they're doing something. They're trying to be involved. They're trying to add something. Whereas what really have MacArthur added to the league, aside from, they've won the odd Oz Cup here and there, but aside from that, they've had scandals. Their crowds are in the toilet, and they're not really elevating the league's profile, so to speak. So,
yeah, I just think they've been bad.
I mean, they need a docuseries, like a all or nothing, settle until I die style of thing.
I'd watch it.
Boys, I put it down as a bad, but it's an unsure, and I want to throw this to you guys. And this is the proposed goalkeeping rule change for next year. And I've just written a bit of a cut and paste here. The amendment means that if a goalkeeper holds onto the ball longer than 8 seconds, with the referee using a visual 5-second countdown, the referee will award a corner kick to the opposing team rather than the current indirect free kick for more than 6 seconds. I can't remember the last time that you get the odd yellow card that's kind of dished out every now and then in the 88th minute for goalkeepers that are just taking the piss. But I can't remember the last time an indirect free kick was awarded for holding on.
Woke nonsense.
Woke nonsense. Utter woke nonsense.
Utter woke nonsense. Just stop pissing around with new rules and just try and simplify the game, because there's enough grey areas in the game already with all the rules that get added in. I know it's trying to prevent time wasting, but it's just it's just nitpicking at certain things. And I think as a general fan, it's probably just
I think this is going to create more issue.
Yeah.
Because we play in Asia. And you could count every time there's a World Cup qualifier against an Asian or Middle Eastern nation, there is a good 10 minutes taken by the goalkeeper with feigning injury to try and, a bit of dark arts to try and chew up a bit of time. But I don't know. And are you going to do it, when what about when a player takes 10 minutes to come off the field for a sub or something like that? Like, where does it should just be time wasting as a whole. Across the board, not just goalkeepers. That's the point I think I'm making.
Yeah, it sounds good on paper, but when executed, I don't think it's going to have the desired effect. Yeah, it'd be. Isn't there supposed to be a 6-second rule nowadays anyway for goalkeepers?
It's never enforced.
Yeah, exactly.
You might get the odd yellow card for someone taking the piss, but you never. I can't remember, Neil, the last time we saw an indirect free kick for that.
Well, the 6-second rule has been there for a long time, and it's never been implemented. And goalkeepers take up to 30 seconds with the ball in their hands. So I actually don't mind an incentive for them to play the ball quicker. there's enough rules at the moment though, and chopping and changing, that how big an impact will it actually have? Given a corner, fair enough. I don't mind it. It's been trialed at some levels because that's what they do before they implement anything like that. I'm in favour of something around the 6 second rule, because goalkeepers do absolutely get away with having the ball in their hands for a long time. So you either scrap the 6 second rule.
Are you still playing goalkeeper, Neil?
Yes. Well, on occasion, yeah. I played the ball with my feet. I'm a ball playing goalkeeper.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
All right.
Edison.
Only use your hands. Only use your hands when you have
The
to.
Man City school of thought there.
But anyway, yes, I am playing goal, and my body hurts from it. But I think you should have some sort of, because it goes back to the old back pass rule as well, right? Where you roll the ball. I remember when I first started watching football, and you'd roll the ball back to the goalkeeper. He'd pick it up. The striker would run away, and then he'd put the ball down and pass it to the fullback, and the fullback would pass it back to him, and he'd just pick it up again.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that they got rid of that, and the back pass rule was brilliant, and it was great for the first year or two because goalkeepers couldn't play football. So for the first couple of years, there were howlers all over the place. They couldn't deal with a ball being past their feet, not being able to pick it up.
I'm just seeing Bruce Gobbler.
And it was
murder
a comedy of errors. But that was a really big, significant change in how the game was played.
Yep.
This isn't going to change how the game is played, but it will if implemented. I mean, we wouldn't need this if they enforced a 6 second rule, right? So what they're doing is openly admitting that their existing rule doesn't work. So we now have to add something to that rule to try and make it work. Why don't you just enforce the 6 second rule? Give the indirect free kick.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing this thing about 8 seconds and a corner, well, why don't you just give the indirect free kick instead of the corner?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because to me, a corner, if you're a goalkeeper and how many goals are scored from set pieces? This is the sort of thing James would answer, but the percentage is very, very low in terms of what you score from corners. If you're a goalkeeper and it's the last minute of the game and you think you can get away with it, would you hold on to the ball and hope the referee doesn't enforce it? Because all you're going to lose is a corner.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see what happens at the top levels with it. And when something controversial happens because of it, I'll sit back and enjoy.
Boys, quickly around the table for your uglies, James.
We'll dissect it more, but I thought our performance was pretty poor. And, like I said, we'll discuss that more in a little bit.
Michael Oliver could go and do one after that Crystal Palace and Millwall game. How you missed the kick and don't even give not even a card, not even a free kick for that. And he's standing right there, and this is one of the supposed best officials in England, and his punishment is getting the Bayern Munich Leverkusen Champions League game in midweek.
Is that not a case for VAR, though?
Well, yeah, it is, but I watched that because that's actually my ugly as well, was Liam Roberts on Mateta. And I had to watch it back just to see where the referee was. He had a full clear view of that 45-degree angle, saw the keeper come straight out, boots high into the side of the face. What got me, though, the funny part was referee waited to see if there was an advantage. I'm just like, what are you doing?
The guy's out.
The grubby Millwall fans did just added insult to injury, mate. I mean, they've got a reputation at the best of times, but
says the Leeds fan, but that's all right.
It's all right, Neil.
Shots fired.
It's all right.
They don't help themselves.
Yeah, go on.
My ugly.
Yeah. Is it the Leeds fans?
No, it's not. No, you're championship. You don't register. Perth Glory's fucking goal difference. Like, minus 32, conceded 45 in 20 games, averaging 2.5 goals conceded per game. That's disgraceful by any metric in any league. Conceding at professional level an average of 2.5 goals shipped per game. That's horrible. And it's just and it's ugly goals. I'm talking about uglies here, but we've seen some ugly goals, and we saw another one at the weekend. It just seems they have a real bad habit of conceding goals in spades, which we've spoken about. Concede one, concede the second one really quickly, and gifting them to the opposition. We've witnessed so many of them this year, but that goals against column of 45 is ridiculous. Yeah. So I at the end of the season, I'll go back and look at it, but they have hovered around this mark quite a few times over the last few years, and we were told that things would improve as the season went on, and we'd getting a settle back four and all this sort of stuff, and yet they've still shipped an average of 2.5 goals per game, which is way worse than anyone else. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, hold that thought, because we'll take a bit of a break and we'll come back after this to analyse just what went down as the Glory fell to the Wanderers. You're on the Far Post Perth Podcast.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth Podcast. Big thank you to ID Athletic and, of course, the team at Trio Homes. Boys, we kind of just touched on it before we went into that break, and, that was the performance or lack of a performance, I think is probably fair to say, on Sunday afternoon at the Wanderers in front of a pretty dismal crowd at Combank Stadium out there at Parramatta. As far as it almost needs to be a bloody royal commission into what's happened to that club and why people aren't going anymore. Well, there's probably a few reasons off the top, but it probably needs to get a little bit deeper as far as the issues go. But let's talk about that match. And I wanted to start, Neil touched on it, and that was the calamitous goal with Ollie Sale playing out to Luke Amos. Neil, as someone who plays the game, I wanted to just throw this at you. Whose responsibility was that goal? Is it, I guess, Ollie Sale because he can see everything on the pitch and could see what was happening behind Luke Amos? Is it Luke Amos for not realising he had someone on his tail and didn't come quick enough to the ball and have that decent body position? Or
I don't have an issue with the
combination
pass.
of both?
I don't have an issue with the ball that was played because Amos as a number 8 is dropping deep to receive it. The two centre backs have split.
Yep.
He's got that space. If he didn't drop into that space, you'd be asking questions, why is your midfielder not dropping in to receive the ball off your goalkeeper who notoriously can't kick? You know, people have been complaining that his goal kicks go out over the sideline the whole time. His distribution's terrible. Sure, okay, well then what do we do with that? We get him to play short and we play it into Amos. The problem was he played it so far that Amos couldn't get his body properly set and he was off balance, so he couldn't get his body between him and the player behind him. He was stretching. Yes, it was a heavy touch, but what can you do in that circumstance? And he got it pinched, and because the centre-backs were split, there was no cover there. And let's be honest, the Wanderers got a little bit lucky that there was a player jogging back from essentially an offside position and the ball fell right to him to score. So I blame the pass. The pass it was suicide. If you're going to play a ball to a striker or a midfielder with their back to the opposition, you need to play it into their body. If you play it either side, it allows the defender an opportunity to get around them. To get. You look at the big strikers over time. They're told, put your arse out, put your arms out, use that as leverage, and get the ball into your feet. You can only do that if the ball is played to you. The ball was played too far to his left, and it was a shocking pass. And it was the pass that was the problem. I don't have a problem with the playing out from the back. I don't have a problem with Amos dropping in, the centre back splitting. That's exactly what you should do. But the pass was terribly executed.
Our build-up play still sucks, though.
Oh, look, even if Amos gets the ball, what the fuck happens next?
That's
you probably give it away another pass or two later. So, yes, but fundamentally, to Blayne's question, everything was right in the intent, but Sale's execution stitched him up badly.
I've written down here coach killers and defensive calamities. Now, you just dropped the bomb of how many goals have been conceded. I'd love to go back and just see exactly how many this season have been essentially coach killers and defensive calamities, James.
There'd be a fair portion. If you look at XG conceded as an example, we are quite far and ahead, the worst team in that regard. So we've got an XG conceded of 41.2. The team in second, ironically, is the Western Sydney Wanderers, who have 34. So we're still quite a fair way away. We can talk about coach killers, but our defensive organisation this whole season has been completely unacceptable, completely poor, not good enough, and especially for for this game, a back four that was really experienced in Risdon, Murchula, Okamoto, and Misau, highly experienced backline. And that's not even mentioning that we had an average age of 29.5 compared to Western Sydney Wanderers having an average age of 26. We've had the complete spectrum of shite defensive moments, whether it be young boys playing out of position or an experienced team. So there has to be a coaching problem. And there was a great tweet that I got forwarded by a friend of mine who it's a UEFA coach who made the point, and he said, mistakes aren't the issue, repeating them is. If the same problems show up every week, it's a coaching issue, not a player issue.
Look at you knocking around with your UEFA coaches. Right?
Well, I'm a bit of a nerd, I've got to admit. But my point is what I'm getting to is that I'm done with Rilla.
Done.
I'm done. I mean, we sacked Alan for probably not hitting certain KPIs. And I firmly believe we showed more progress under Alan Stajic last season than we've done at any point under David Zrilic. And Stag has now shown twice that he's dunked on us, but he's also shown that if you give him better players, he can actually get something good out of the teams that he has. And what he's doing with Western Sydney, yes, they've been hot and cold, but right now he's got them firing at the right time heading into finals. They look like a very good team. I think this was the first time Western Sydney have won 3 in a row for the first time since 2018. I think that was mentioned on the A-League Off-Air podcast. I'm happy to be corrected if that's not true. But yeah, I don't see a philosophy. I don't see a full adherence to the Red Bull model of play. And I question why, if the club are choosing to persist with Dave at the end of the season, what their rationale is, because I think at the end of the day, we need to be getting out of the bottom two. We need to stop conceding so many goals each game, and 1 goal scored. So we had the chance with Taggart. All right, sweet. He scored. Great goal, great movement by Taggart. But other than that, we didn't really create chances that were that meaningful. And again, you're asking fans, what are you giving them to incentivize them to come to the game? Why should they come and watch us play against Brisbane? Because if we can't beat Brisbane, may as well sack it off completely. So no, it's fair to say that I'm quite concerned. Doesn't matter who you sign next season. I'm just very concerned about our future progress and whether we do have the right man in charge.
Jackson, we spoke a little bit off air. Each week we kind of come in here and we try and look for positives or signs of improvement, and we had a little bit of a conversation. Are there any? Is there anything that we can grasp onto at this stage, do you feel?
Well, there's nothing positive from the weekend's action, and probably the thing that disappointed me the most was in the last 7 games, our defense had been a little bit better, only conceding 8 goals. I know still over a goal a game isn't great, but it looked like there was more of a structure, and we'd gotten that part of the game under control a little bit more, and then it just all went out the window on the weekend. And considering all the back four and the keeper are all over the age of 30, that's plenty of experience and know-how to be able to deal with the situation, and the attack's still a bit of a mess. When it comes to David Zrilic, I've got a little bit more patience, and I'm going to use a bit of an extreme example, but I'm going to liken it to when Mikel Arteta came into Arsenal, because he had a good record as an assistant coach, good background in coaching, and it was his first major gig at a big club. And the first couple of seasons, it didn't go the way he wanted, and the knives were out early on for him, but they've been patient and they've been rewarded with a bit more consistency and good form. I think with these new owners, I think they're willing to give David a little bit more time, because I think their approach in getting the Glory success, it's going to take a few years. It's going to be a long-term thing. So as bad as it is now, I do think I think it will get better. I think he's got enough of a pedigree, and I think we've seen glimpses of things this season.
Have you seen enough though? 20 games.
Not as much as I'd liked, but I think, like I said, I've got a little bit more patience, so I'd be willing to give him another preseason and some more signings. And if things don't get better next year, then there's real question marks.
Sorry, Catania went out and got a coach at the start of this season that had just won one of the groups in Serie C and was about to get promoted to Serie B, but Catania, Ross Pelligra and Vince Grella managed to convince him to be their head coach, and they also brought in a sporting director who had Serie A experience. Ross has shown that if he wants to go and get the quote-unquote best in class, he can do it. And I think he's got a big decision to make at the end of the season. Are we really on the right track? Because this is now 5 seasons without finals. How much longer are you going to get the Glory fans to wait to see a product that is compelling and is willing to get the fans back on board? Because how many more membership drives are the club going to do? If we keep performing like this, are the fans going to want to come back?
Yeah. Neil?
So the Spoon season last year, they're on a track to concede a similar amount, at roughly 2.5 goals per game. They scored 46 last year.
Yeah.
This year, 13 at the moment. Shocking stat in terms of goals scored. We remember the 21-22 season, another Spoon season. They only conceded 43 for the whole season. We're already above that, and there's still a lot of games left to play. So we're heading for historically bad. The only thing keeping them off the bottom and guaranteed another Spoon is Brisbane, and Brisbane are 4 points behind with 3 games in hand. And who would put it past them winning here? Not this weekend, the following weekend. I think the issue for me, and it goes back to what was said earlier on about underdone players, that Drillich said that we didn't have the legs to keep up with Western Sydney, and we're in March. Now, I can understand if a coach gets sacked and a coach comes in January and brings 5 or 6 players in with him and has to blow the whole thing up and start again. He's blowing up his own squad. Stan Lazaridis blowing up his own squad by bringing in all these players and, we had to bring in these new players in January. You brought them in because the players you signed previously were shit. So you can't overlook that when you're talking about, give us time. Well, you did have time. You had a whole preseason. You had a whole first half of the season. You blew it all up, and now we're starting again, and you expect fans to buy in January. For what? Like, it's another completely dead and lost season. There are no consequences, obviously, as we know, with relegation, so they can just coast through this year and say, it was just our first year getting our feet under the table. Next year will be better. I have seen nothing to suggest that next year will be better.
Yep.
I also don't know if any of these players are going to be here, because while I approve of them signing players for 6 months and try before you buy, if these players are shit, well, they're not going to be here next year, so let's just play the WA kids. You'll get more buy-in from the fans if it's a load of MPL lads running around than you will from a bunch of grifters on 6-month deals who are here for a holiday. And that's the fear that people are seeing when they see players for 6 months. He's just here because no one else wanted him. He'll head off then to some Indian Premier League or whatever. He'll go and play in the 2nd division in Thailand after this year. He doesn't want to be here. So what are we working towards here? And I know we spoke to Lockie Wales a couple of weeks ago, and he was brilliant in terms of what he wants to do and what his direction is as a player, leadership, wanting to be in Perth. That was great. A really good interview. Great to hear from a player like that. But it's a results business. What have we achieved in the last month or so? A draw at home to Sydney FC, celebrating it like it's a win. It's a nothing season.
Yep. You brought it up a few weeks back, and that was Patrick Woods. I was willing to give him a little bit of a chance, but I'm firmly in your camp as far as what we're trying to get out, what he's here to, the job that he's here to do.
Why is he playing ahead of Anasmo?
Exactly.
For example. Anasmo, when he came on, it feels like every week there's an excuse as to why Anasmo can't start.
Yeah.
He missed preseason. He had an injury. He had a virus the other week, and he comes on for 15, 20 minutes and he's electrifying. Now, I'm not saying play the guy for 90 minutes every week, but it's not like the guys in his position are pulling up trees here.
Yeah.
Miliosnic, shit, what has he contributed? I'm sorry, like a good player in his day and looked an okay signing on paper, but where's his goals and his assists? Where's the goals and assists from Osler? Where's the goals and assists from Wood? What are they contributing here in those spots behind Taggart that suggests that they should play and start every week ahead? I'd rather start an Asmo for 30 minutes and then drag him if you have to, if he's not got the legs for it. Yeah. Make a statement here and give the guy a start and say, right, I'm putting my faith in you. Run your bollocks off for as long as you can, and then we'll bring on someone else off the bench.
I don't know if you guys saw it in the Sydney game when Anasmo was running on to be brought on by Zrilla in the 80th minute. The whole of the Gold section by that Western side all stood up and applauded him. Because the fans know when Anasmo gets on the ball, he causes chaos. He just makes the defenders think twice, and I think the subs in general in the Western Sydney Wanderers game were too late.
They were. And I'm loath to put a lot of pressure on Anasmo because there's the factor of if he comes on the 80th minute, he's playing against tired defenders, the game's a bit stretched, it's probably easier for a player like him. But how's he going to learn? How's he going to learn to play from the start and grow into a game if you don't start him?
Yeah.
You know, I think the time came weeks ago to start him and give him a run. Because as I said, the three players I've mentioned, Osler, Miliusnic and Wood, I would be confident of no goals and no assists between them.
They don't. Osler might have an assist, but Osler's got a goal.
One goal. Sorry.
One goal.
Yep, one goal.
Miliusnic nothing, and Wood nothing. I think
Wales had an assist at the weekend. But again, we're scoring 13 goals.
Oh, the output's shit.
In 20 games.
Yeah.
It's, Kwango got a chance. Didn't really work for him. No problem. Pearman's away. Fair enough. You bring in somebody else. But it's not like you're winning games, that you can't give someone like an Asmo. And I'm not saying he's going to come in and score 4 goals, 5 goals a game, and he's going to be a world beater. He deserves a chance.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm going to throw it to you guys. Just a quick one on the Perth Glory women. A game they really should have won against Newcastle on the weekend.
Yeah, disappointing. They definitely had a few chances towards the end of the game to get something. But oh Jesus, just some of the goals, the 2 goals that were conceded. I mean, I think the first one was just too slow to react to a corner, and ironically, for our first goal that we conceded against Wanderers, we were too slow to react. I mean, obviously lucky with how the ball looped in. The second goal was a bit of a balls up. An unfortunate error. I think Templeman's the goalkeeper. Yeah, just unfortunate that the ball was palmed straight into the attacker's path, but. That's the thing. Those small details, they matter immensely. And, if 2 mistakes or 2 moments where we're just not switched on for that period can be costly. And I think we probably should have gotten something out of this game. But, yeah, I just think, a bad start didn't help.
Yeah, I lost it in the first 3 minutes. And everything was pointing to, it's always like, what if? And Newcastle hadn't won in 10 weeks. We're still searching for our first away win of the season. If we had won, we would have been 6 points off the top 6 with 4 out of 6 games left at home where we've been really good. It was all pointing towards, if we get a result here and put in the effort and get reward for effort, like Stephen Peters mentioned in his pre-match press conference, then we're looking good in the last 6 weeks of the season, but just unable to get over the line and get the results that we need at crucial times of the season. It's frustrating because I know this team can make finals and is good enough to challenge the top teams in the comp. It's just they've let themselves down on too many occasions this season, at the back especially, where still searching for that clean sheet. And yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them to challenge for top 6 now.
Interesting game coming up this Friday night at the Sam Kerr Football Centre, 7 p.m. kickoff as the Glory Girls go up against Western United. We might take a quick break, gents, and we'll have a bit of a look ahead after this. You're on the Far Post Perth Podcast.
Tired of the same old cookie-cutter home designs? Dreaming of a space that truly reflects you? Then it's time to talk to the team at Trio Homes. Whether you're looking to build your dream home, redesign your current space, or simply renovate, Trio Homes is committed to unique designs, local personalised service and quality workmanship. And with former Perth Glory star Dino Julbich at the helm, you'll know you're getting passion and dedication built into every project. Discover the difference with Trio Homes. Visit triohomes.com.au.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Great to have the support, as always, of ID Athletic and Trio Homes. Gents, let's have a little bit of a look maybe at the, we mentioned the under-20s World Cup, the Young Socceroos, Asian Cup winners, of course, off to the World Cup later this year. So super excited then. Can we get excited about this crop, or are we still kind of just, hey, let's just see what happens with it?
Probably still, hey, let's see what happens, because there's still plenty for them to develop, and there's no guarantee that they're all going to perform at a linear trajectory moving forward. But I think there was enough evidence there to be excited that perhaps we could see something special. It
seems like this is a bigger crop, Jackson, than what we've seen previously. I mean, we always refer to that golden generation, your Kuhls, your Vidukas, your Brescianos, Cahills, and this and that. This seems like there's just more players that are just starting to not hit that level, but starting to get to a chance to hit that level, if you like. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see some West Australians and some Glory players in there and featuring heavily. Pam, I think, scored in the semi-final, and Benny's been starting for most of the tournament, and then you had the likes of Lisalajki, who started in the final, and Bagari on the bench. Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. I think every player who featured in the tournament, played their part, and they got a chance to establish themselves at the A-League or whatever clubs they're at. So, yeah, I think it's a real positive sign, because this is the first time that we've won an underage tournament, or like first time in however many years. Long time. Yeah. So it's good to see them get over the line and under pressure as well. Execute under pressure in that penalty shootout was just superb. Huge save, Stephen Hall, outstanding. And then the Schwarzer-esque. And the Panenka as well from Badalado. Big set of balls. Brave. Yeah, big bollocks there. Also, boys, just a quick one. We spoke about the Matildas. I mean, they had a nightmare of a tournament, the She Believes Cup, and pretty much comprehensively beaten, and comprehensively the fourth worst team there out of 4 teams. Where's this coach situation going? Because it's really starting to hit, the 11th hour now, as far as getting this team back on track. It's almost been a piss take how long it's taken. Yeah. I mean, if you're wanting to be one of those elite organisations or elite teams, which the Matildas have the capacity to be, to have had our coaching saga go on for as long as it has done has been a very bad look. Whether you go and get, I'm going to botch his last name, I'll give it a red hot crack, Joe Montemurro, or you go and, the suggestion was put out today, John Aloisi, go and get it sorted, get it done. Because the longer we have Samani, look, he's done a great job for women's football over the years, but it's clear that we need to have a direction and a sense of purpose, and we need to start building this team towards the Asian Cup and the World Cup in the next few years to come. So we need to get that sorted ASAP. Neil, any quick thoughts? Well, Sermani's keeping the gig for the next game, isn't he? So I don't know exactly changed it. You got less than a year till the Asian Cup on home soil. You can't afford to underperform. My question is it an attractive job at the moment? Probably not. Because of what? Are you talking about the outside noise? Are you talking about the actual outside noise, but also the expectations? It's the end. It's a bit of an end of an era. It is for a lot of the players. Your crop that have done so well. Have you got if you come in as a coach, do you think the next batch are good enough? Yeah, probably not. If I'm perfectly honest, you've probably got Cara Cooney-Cross and Mary Fowler that are going to be the ones to lead the way. That people are looking at it going, in terms of women's football and nations. I guess it just comes back to, the KPIs need to be reasonable expectations, don't they? But those names that were mentioned, are you reaching too high? Yeah. Possibly. I mentioned Bev Priestman last week. I don't know. She's a little bit over favour because of what happened with in New Zealand. But sure, bring a bit more controversy. Why not? What's a little bit more if you're going to do that? We'll turn into the NRL in no time. But I'm just wondering. Yeah, look, I just think that it's a very, very important time for them with the Asian Cup on home. Absolutely, you can't afford to underperform.
I don't think the squad is as good as it's been in previous years. And I think that maybe outsiders have looked at that and gone, do I want to be the coach that has a damp squib on home soil in a major tournament? Maybe.
And it needs to be probably a top 2 finish at least, if not 3. You're probably looking at Japan, South Korea, and Australia.
Yeah, you've got to be aiming to make for the final.
Yep.
Absolutely. I do wonder as well, is there also a bit of an issue with team culture, perhaps?
That's been a talk for quite a while, hasn't it?
That could be another potential reason why someone might look at
mafia.
it. Could be another reason why someone thinks, I don't know, maybe I don't want to take that job right now.
It is interesting. Boys, just a quick look. State League and NPLWA men's night series finals are happening on Saturday night. I'll be involved. I'll be down on the microphone down there, so looking forward to that. In the State League, the first game will see Kingsley Westside take on Mandurah, and in the NPL will be Stirling v. the returnees, Sorrento, who have done pretty well to come back up and obviously knock off some of the other sides in the top div to make the pre-season night series final, Jackson.
Yeah, when you got Neil Kilkenny in the midfield, I think that really helps. Yeah, they've been superb. I remember watching them in pre-season against Glory. I was very impressed with them. They really took it up to us, and although Glory came out with a 3-0 win, I thought they were very impressive, and I'm not surprised that they've been this successful coming up the top division. Yep.
Also, NPLW semi-finals this weekend, Sunday at Dorrien Gardens. And you can hear my voice again if you want to get along, boys, to that one. So very much looking forward to that. A-League across the weekend. Let's start with the A-League women's. Perth against Western United, Samco Football Centre, 7 p.m. Saturday, we'll see Newcastle against Sydney. Also Adelaide against Central Coast. And on the Sunday, triple header, Wellington against Western Sydney, Melbourne Victory against Canberra, and Brisbane against Melbourne City. So some interesting fixtures there. A-League men's, gents, let's have a little bit of a look. Of course, Perth Glory with the bye this weekend, but we kick it off on Friday night with Melbourne City v Macarthur. Tips, James?
Yeah, Melbourne City.
Neil?
Draw.
I'm going to go City. Yeah, I think City's good enough to get that. Adelaide v Brisbane, James?
Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide. I think we should do some due service to the Adelaide and Auckland game at the weekend, because
you're going to interrupt with the fixtures.
Well, you didn't touch on the results, so you know. But no, I think top first, second.
Yeah.
You wanted some entertainment. If you like your defending, probably would have turned off. But people say that it's boring and whatnot. But 8 goals, and good goals as well. There was some really good finishes, good strikes in it. 2 quality teams that you'd expect to be thereabouts at the business end. And I think Adelaide had a blip a few weeks ago, but they look good. And I think despite Western United being ahead of them in goal difference, they're the second best team in the league.
Third game of the round on this Saturday will be Western United Wellington, James.
West United, Wellington have been really disappointing.
Yeah, Western United still ticking over quite well.
Yeah. They're starting to just hit their straps at the right time, I feel.
There was a little bit of a thing around Western United having a slow start, and they had a few wins and then kicked on, and it's really what we kind of hoped Glory would do after they beat Auckland, for example. That, you know, you would turn a corner, and Western United found a way to turn a corner, get some results and kick on, and Glory just stayed shit.
Well, it was almost that game here that sparked them. It was definitely around that period. Melbourne Victory against Central Coast.
Victory need to bounce back with a big performance, I feel, and I think they'll do that.
Yeah, they'll do it at home for me, Jackson.
Draw.
Ooh.
The knives will be out.
Yeah, I don't trust Victory at the moment. I think they got a blips in them, so draw.
And the final game of the round, Newcastle against Auckland. Can they do it again this time at home? Of course, they did beat them away earlier in the season.
Draw.
Fuck it, Newcastle.
No, I think a draw. And I think Auckland just have that nice buffer. Not that they can afford to be complacent, but they can afford to drop a point or two here or there. And I think they're going to win the regular season, but then it will be a case of can they go toe-to-toe with some of the other teams when it comes to finals. That will be tasty. But they're the best team that we've had. And
I've lost the last. Was that the last fixture that I just read?
The last game's only one Sunday game.
Yeah.
We have a non-losing weekend for the Glory men.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, great. It means we can be quite happy next week. Unless Brisbane win and close the gap.
Yeah.
And then we prepare ourselves for the Ruben return.
The return of Ruben. There we go.
Which you can all look forward to.
Any final predictions, nonsense predictions, anything else you want to get off your chest, boys?
Can't think of anything at the moment.
No.
I'm spent.
I'll go on a limb and say the Glory Girls finally get a clean sheet and get a win on Friday night.
All right.
That'd be great.
O'Neill.
Tony Sage.
Here we go. One of your podcasts for this.
It's only just getting mentioned.
No,
Yeah.
I was waiting
Best
for it the
for
whole
last.
time. Tony Sage turns up at the White House.
I've got to admit, that got sent to me and I almost spat out my dinner. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
A man of many talents.
Yeah,
and
wears many
obviously got
hats.
knowledge. Yeah, wears many hats. Fingering many pies. And has some
utility for the
opinions.
token.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
So
All right, we'll wrap it up there, gentlemen. Big thank you to ID Athletic. Big thank you to Trio Homes. And big thank you to you. Don't forget, you can always grab this as a podcast each and every week. It's usually available on a Tuesday evening or early on a Wednesday morning, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube Music. Until next week, this has been the Far Post Perth Podcast.